So now we take a look at getting your concept. So first of all, what's the actual job of a cover? It's the first thing that a reader sees when they're looking for their next fix. So it needs to fulfill a number of points. It needs to entice them enough that they check out the blurb and maybe a sample. It needs to tell them what type of book they're getting. Like, is it a turn of the century detective novel, a fantasy epic, a love story? What is it? It speaks to the quality of the book itself. So if the reader thinks that the cover looks bad, then they're going to think the story is bad. And it also needs to work as a thumbnail. So when you're looking at a page on Amazon and your book is lined up against 30 other books, it stands out. You can read the title at least. So with that in mind, you need a concept, a ballpark idea of what your cover is going to be about. So in this case, normally what I would do is I would sketch out a couple of them. And I like to use something like Microsoft Whiteboard here. Now, you don't have to use this. You can use pretty much any sort of image program that you have, or even a pen and paper if you want. I just like to do it on Whiteboard because I have a tablet that kind of works nicely with it. So one of the major issues that self-made indie covers have is that to try to tell the entire story on the cover. So it's like, okay, my book is about a World War II fighter pilot who's really an immortal werewolf cursed by a witch. So in the end, the cover ends up something like, okay, you've got your werewolf here who's nice, boop, boop, things. This is my werewolf, taggity tag. And he's in his Spitfire plane. And then behind him, he's got like, I don't know, like the face of the witch. It's the entire cover, like it's trying to just present everything. And then obviously because none of this stuff exists, then the kind of cover just ends up looking like a mess. So basically what you want to do is you want to boil your concept down to the essentials. What's the overarching theme of your book? Is it a story of revenge? Is it a story of passion, like of redemption? Is there one item or one place in your story that embodies the subject matter as well as the theme? Now, for example, let's say your story is a murder mystery. Okay, so would it be better if your cover was something like a broken stained wine glass with a bit of lipstick here on the cover, a nice little bit of wine in it? Now, would that tell the story better than a nice big kind of complex like police here and loads of people, and we've got a nice crime scene going on the floor, and it's like there's a lot of detail in one and the other. Like, which one would kind of present your story better? Like, would a simpler image be easier to understand? Because simpler images and themes allow the reader's brain to grok the image quicker, as in to like immediately understand it. For example, here you know immediately what it is because there's only one thing. Here you kind of like, you need to figure it out. So it might not take that long, but it just takes a little bit longer, especially if you're looking at a big list of them, like 30 of them on a page or something like this. So it also allows the reader to substitute in all the missing details. And these are going to be better than anything that you could pick, anything that you could make. So here, for example, when they see something like an image like a broken wine glass, they're going to be imagining, for example, the fight that led to this, what's going on in the background. And so all of these images, you're never going to be able to beat this. So let them fill it in. Let them just, you provide the vessel and let their mind just fill it up. So this also works better as a thumbnail because the image is still clear enough to make out. When there's too much going on and the image is very, very small, it's hard to make out. It's especially if you're kind of, your title is kind of lost in the middle of it. And it's also important to separate the subject matter or theme of your book from the characters or the setting of it. So let's take something like Game of Thrones. So the books have a little bit of everything in it. They've got dragons, magic, like frozen undead, you name it, they've got it. Now, none of that features on the cover because while it makes up the world that the characters live in, it's not what's central to the story. The story is about the clash between these rivaling families. So sit down and take out, say, a pen and paper and sketchpad, and just quickly sketch out 5 or 6 different ideas about your book cover. Keep in mind now that you're going to be making it, so obviously try to simplify it. Now, if you had to choose one image or item that represents your book, what would it be? So again, we go back to our murder mystery story. Now, for example, one of these things could be this book. One of them could be like a Sherlock Holmes hat. I have actually no idea what a Sherlock Holmes hat is. I'm going to draw there. It looks more like a Stetson, but there you go. With a wee pipe at the end of it. He smokes a pipe. Yeah. As you can see, I also stopped doing art since I was in school. So you would sketch out a number of these. So they end up, you would have 5, 6 different images, different ideas, and don't try to settle on one. Basically, there's no such thing at this stage as a bad idea. Let your mind go wild. Go as far as you can go in with an idea. And when you have 5 or 6 different images, one of the things that you can do is you can export it out, say as a PNG, and then you can use this on social media. You can basically send this to your mailing list and ask them which one you think it looks best. So you have a major outline. You can use this highlighter as well if you want to give a little bit of a color to it. So everybody knows Sherlock Holmes' hat is green, yeah? That's something that maybe it's a little bit of trivia there for any Sherlock Holmes fans. And basically just go wild. At this stage, it's cheap to have ideas because so far we're not putting any sort of kind of work. That's kind of the wrong thing to say. We're not wasting as much time here. We're not, say, going out and mocking this entire thing up and putting a day into making a really polished, beautiful cover to find out that it doesn't really resonate with anybody. So basically, sketch it all out, send it to your followers, see what people think, get some very, very early feedback now while it's cheap, because you want to fail fast at this point rather than failing fast when your cover is done. Now, to give an example of what this actually might look like, I actually worked, for my very first book, I worked with an artist to design the first cover. So one of the things that I asked her to do was to give me 5 very, very quick sketches, 5-10 minutes each one, of just different kind of angles. I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to show, but I didn't really know in terms of angle, color, which one people would like the best. So I asked her to mock up 5 very, very quick sketches, and I just basically did what I said. I just shared it with my mailing list, and it ended up choosing the most popular one, because it works. It's easy.